in a quiet residential neighborhood west of Albuquerque, New Mexico, at 1 a.m. Veteran officer Liz cradled her bloody daughter Sarah at the doorstep. Instead of reaching for her gun, she chose evidence. She began building a safety plan, gathering ER records, photos, doorbell footage from neighbors, and threatening texts with methodical precision. Soon, a shocking revelation erupted at the county registrar's office. The porch light flickered against the desert wind, and her heartbeat filled the silence. Every breath carried the weight of duty and the ache of a mother's guilt. She pressed her palm to Sarah's back, feeling both fragility and fire. Papers rustled on the table, proofs of violence, whispers of betrayal. The law was no longer a badge. It was a promise she carved with trembling hands. No shouting, no gunfire, only resolve, steady as the desert dawn. In that stillness, justice found its shape. What began as fear became her testimony, and what shattered in the night began to stand again in truth. Like and subscribe before we begin. One choice changed everything. The truth is buried deep, and it's coming soon. The knock came at 1 a.m. Liz Herrera woke to the sound. She reached for the lamp. The clock glowed green on the nightstand. She sat up. Her hand found the holster on the chair. Then she stopped. The knock came again, softer this time, almost apologetic. She went to the door. The porch light buzzed overhead. Moths circled the bulb. She looked through the peephole. A woman stood there, head down, shoulders hunched. Liz opened the door. "Mom," Sarah whispered. "Open up." The words barely came out. Sarah lifted her face. The porch light caught it. Split lip. Blood dried at the corner. Left eye swollen shut. Purple bloomed across the cheekbone. Liz grabbed her. Sarah's knees buckled. She caught her daughter before she hit the concrete. The weight was sudden, heavy. Sarah's breath came in short gasps. Liz held her up. Her hands felt the trembling. "Inside," Liz said. "Now." She pulled Sarah through the doorway. The living room was dark. She kicked the door shut. Somewhere down the block, pit bulls barked. A dirt bike roared past. The sound faded into the night. The swamp cooler hummed in the window. It pushed cool air through the house. Liz guided Sarah to the couch. She turned on the table lamp. The light was harsh. It showed everything. The split lip, the swollen eye, the bruises on the neck, finger marks. Clear as day. Sarah covered her face. "Don't look at me." Liz's jaw tightened. She walked to the kitchen. Her hand moved to the holster again. She stopped herself. Not the gun. She opened the freezer. Ice rattled into a plastic bag. She wrapped it in a towel. Then she grabbed the first aid kit from under the sink. When she came back, Sarah was crying. Quiet tears. No sound. Just the shaking of her shoulders. Liz sat beside her. She pressed the ice gently to the eye. Sarah flinched. "Hold it there," Liz said. She opened the kit. Gauze. Antiseptic. Tape. Her hands moved with practiced calm. She cleaned the split lip. Sarah winced. Liz's touch was firm but careful. She worked in silence. Outside, a car alarm went off. Then stopped. "He hit me," Sarah said. Her voice broke. "Because of his mistress." Liz's hand paused. The gauze hovered above the wound. She looked at her daughter. Sarah wouldn't meet her eyes. Shame hung heavy in the room. Liz felt her chest tighten. Rage rose inside her. She pushed it down. She finished with the gauze. "Where is he now?" Liz asked. "At her place, I think." Liz stood. She walked to the kitchen counter. Her phone sat there. She picked it up. Then she stopped. Her other hand touched the holster. Just for a second. The metal felt cold. She imagined driving to his house, kicking in the door, making him feel what Sarah felt. "Not the gun," she whispered. She set the holster down. She went back to Sarah. Her daughter looked small on the couch. Broken. Liz sat down again. She took Sarah's hand. It was cold. "You need a hospital," Liz said. "No." Sarah shook her head. "Please, don't make it a scene. You might have a concussion. I can't afford the ER." Sarah's voice cracked. "The deductible. It's too high. Bronze plan. You know that." Liz knew. She'd helped Sarah pick the insurance last year. The cheapest option. High deductible. Low monthly cost. It seemed smart then. Now it felt like a trap. She thought about the bills, the co-pays, the out-of-pocket maximum that might as well be a mountain. "I'll pay it," Liz said. "You're about to retire. You can't." "I'll figure it out." Sarah looked at her, the good eye filled with tears. "I'm sorry, Mom." Liz pulled her close. Sarah buried her face in her mother's shoulder. She sobbed. The sound was raw. It filled the small living room. Liz held her. She felt the weight of it. The shame. The fear. The broken trust. Her hand stroked Sarah's hair. She remembered holding her like this when she was little. After nightmares, after scraped knees. This was different. This was worse. The clock on the microwave read 1:47 a.m. Liz pulled back. She looked at Sarah. I need to take pictures. Sarah nodded. She understood. Liz grabbed her phone. She turned on the flash. Each photo captured the damage. The split lip, the swollen eye, the bruises on the neck. She made sure the time showed on the microwave in the background. Documentation. Evidence. 23 years on the force taught her that much. When she finished, she called Dr. Leticia Figueroa. The phone rang 3 times. Then a sleepy voice answered. Liz, it's late. I know. We're coming in. What happened? Domestic. My daughter. There was a pause. Then Leticia's voice sharpened. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Bring her to the side entrance. Liz hung up. She looked at Sarah. Get your shoes. Sarah hesitated. What if someone sees? Let them see. Please, Mom. I don't want people to know. Liz knelt in front of her. She took both of Sarah's hands. Her grip was firm. Listen to me. This isn't your shame. It's his. You understand? Sarah didn't answer. She looked away. Liz saw it then. The weight her daughter carried. The belief that somehow this was her fault. That she'd done something to deserve it. Liz's heart broke. We're doing this by the book, Liz said. Her voice was steady. Final. I'll protect you. But we do it right. Sarah nodded. Slow. Uncertain. Liz stood. She helped Sarah to her feet. They walked to the door. She grabbed her keys from the hook. Her badge sat there too. She clipped it to her belt. Then she put on her jacket. The weight of it felt familiar. Comforting. At the door she stopped. She looked at Sarah. Her daughter. Her child. Beaten by the man she'd married. The rage came back. Stronger this time. Liz's hand moved to the holster. She felt the metal again. She imagined the satisfaction. The justice. Then she let go. Not the gun, she said again. We do this right. She opened the door. The night air was cool. The street was quiet now. Even the pit bulls had stopped barking. They walked to the car. Liz opened the passenger door. Sarah got in slowly. Every movement seemed to hurt. Liz closed the door gently. Then she walked around to the driver's side. She sat behind the wheel. Her hands gripped it tight. She looked straight ahead. The street stretched out before them. Empty. Dark. She started the engine. I promise you, she said. He'll pay for this. Sarah said nothing. She just stared out the window. Liz put the car in gear. They pulled away from the house. The porch light grew smaller behind them. Then disappeared. The emergency department was bright. Too bright. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The smell of disinfectant filled the air. Liz sat in the plastic chair outside the CT room. Her hands gripped her knees. Sarah was inside. The machine whirred. A steady mechanical sound that made Liz's chest tight. Doctor. Figueroa emerged 20 minutes later. She held a tablet. Her face was calm, professional. But Liz had known her for 15 years. She saw the concern in the eyes. Severe contusions, Figueroa said. Facial trauma. Orbital bruising. But no internal bleeding. The CT's clear. Liz exhaled. She hadn't realized she'd been holding her breath. Thank God, she whispered. Figueroa sat beside her. She set the tablet down. Document everything, Liz. Photos. Statements. Medical records. You know how this works. Liz nodded. She did know. 23 years in patrol. She'd taken dozens of domestic violence reports, filed evidence, testified in court. But this was different. This was Sarah, her daughter. The victim was hers. I'm doing it, Liz said. All of it. Figueroa touched her shoulder. Good. Because if this goes to trial, they'll look for gaps. Any excuse to dismiss it. The words hung in the air. Liz felt the weight of them. She stood. Can I see her? She's in recovery. Give her 10 minutes. Liz walked to the vending machine. She needed coffee. Anything to keep her hands busy. She fed coins into the slot. The machine hummed. A paper cup dropped. Brown liquid poured out. It smelled burnt. She didn't care. She took a sip. It was bitter. Her phone buzzed. She pulled it from her pocket. A text from her captain. Checking in. She typed a quick response. Family emergency. Taking personal time. She hit send. Then another buzz. This time from Sarah's phone. Liz had it in her jacket pocket. She'd taken it at the house. For safekeeping, she'd told herself. But really, she wanted to see what he'd say. What he'd do. She opened the screen. The message was from Rob. Robert Mendes. Sarah's husband, the man who'd done this. Open your mouth, lose everything. Liz read it again. Her jaw clenched. The threat was clear, direct. He knew what he'd done, and he was trying to silence her. She took a screenshot. Then she forwarded it to her own phone. Evidence. Another piece for the file. She went back to the waiting area. Sarah was being wheeled out. Her face was pale. The swelling had gotten worse. The left eye was almost shut now. Purple spread across the cheekbone, down to the jaw. She looked small in the hospital gown, fragile. Liz walked beside the gurney. She took Sarah's hand. It was cold. The nurse pushed them into a private room. Small, curtained, a single bed with thin sheets. Sarah sat up slowly. She winced. "How do you feel?" Liz asked. "Like I got hit by a truck." Liz pulled a chair close. She sat. Rob texted. Sarah's good eye widened. "What did he say?" Liz showed her the phone. Sarah read the message. Her hand started shaking. She handed it back. "He's going to ruin me." "No, he's not. You don't know him, Mom. He has connections. Money. Lawyers." Liz leaned forward. "Listen to me. We're changing your SIM card. Right now. New number. He won't be able to reach you. But work. We'll notify them. Give them the new number. But he doesn't get it. You understand?" Sarah nodded. Slow. Uncertain. Liz pulled a fresh SIM card from her wallet. She'd bought it on the way to the hospital. Just in case. She opened Sarah's phone, popped out the old card, slid in the new one. The screen flickered, then came back to life. "What about my contacts?" Sarah asked. "I'll transfer them. But first we set up a safety contact." Liz opened the settings. She scrolled to emergency contacts. She added her own number. Then she added another. Aunt Maria, Sarah's godmother. A woman who lived 2 blocks away and never asked questions. "If you need help, you text Maria," Liz said. "She'll call me. We'll come get you." Sarah looked at the phone, then at her mother. "You really think it'll get that bad?" Liz didn't answer right away. She thought about the text, the threat, the bruises on Sarah's neck. "I think we prepare for the worst and hope for the best." A knock interrupted them. Dr. Figueroa entered with a clipboard. She handed it to Liz. "Discharge papers. Keep the eye iced. Tylenol for pain. If the headache gets worse, come back." Liz took the papers. She glanced at the bottom. The bill estimate. Her stomach dropped. $2,400. The copay alone was $500. Out-of-network radiology. Another $800. The rest would hit the deductible. Sarah's bronze plan covered almost nothing up front. "I'll handle it," Liz said quietly. Figueroa glanced at Sarah, then back at Liz. "Use your HSA if you have it. It'll help." Liz nodded. She pulled out her wallet. The HSA card was there. She'd been saving it for her own retirement, dental work, maybe a knee replacement someday. Now it was going to Sarah's ER bill. She handed it to the nurse at the desk. The woman swiped it. The machine beeped. "Approved." Liz exhaled. One problem solved. Dozens more waiting. They left the hospital at 4:47 a.m. The sky was still dark. The parking lot was empty except for a few cars. Liz helped Sarah into the passenger seat. She buckled her in. Then she walked around to the driver's side. As she started the engine, her phone buzzed again. Another text. This time from Miss Camila, their neighbor. The woman lived 3 houses down. She had a Ring doorbell. She saw everything. "I have footage from last night. You need to see it." Liz texted back immediately. "Coming by in the morning." "Thank you." She set the phone down. She looked at Sarah. Her daughter's head rested against the window, eyes closed, exhausted. Liz pulled out of the lot. The streets were quiet, empty. The city was asleep. By the time they got home, the sun was starting to rise. Orange light crept over the Sandia Mountains. Liz parked in the driveway. She helped Sarah inside. They went straight to the guest room. Liz pulled back the covers. Sarah lay down without a word. Liz covered her with the blanket. Then she sat on the edge of the bed. She stayed until Sarah's breathing slowed, until she was sure she was asleep. At 7 a.m., Liz walked to Miss Camilla's house. The woman answered on the first knock. She was in her bathrobe, gray hair pulled back. She gestured Liz inside without a word. They went to the living room. A laptop sat open on the coffee table. Mrs. Camilla pressed play. The footage was grainy, black and white, but clear enough. The timestamp read 102 a.m. Sarah appeared on screen. She stumbled up the porch steps, her hand pressed against the door. Frantic knocking. Then she collapsed. A moment later, Liz appeared. She caught Sarah, pulled her inside. I'll send it to you, Ms. Camilla said. If you need it. Liz nodded. Thank you. She walked back home. Her mind was already organizing. Photos, medical records, text messages, ring footage. The evidence was piling up. She had a case, a strong one. But she also knew how these things went. Domestic violence cases were hard. They required victims to testify, to relive the trauma, to face their abusers in court. Sarah might not be ready for that. By mid-morning, word had spread. Neighbors started texting. Some offered support, prayers, casseroles. Others were less kind. One message stood out. From a woman Liz barely knew. A friend of Rob's mother. Maybe she provoked him. You know how women can be. Liz stared at the screen. Her hand tightened around the phone. She typed a response, then deleted it, then typed again. Provocation doesn't cause fractures. She hit send. Then she blocked the number. By noon, Liz had everything organized. She sat at the kitchen table, her laptop open, a folder beside her. Inside were printed photos, medical records, screenshots of the text messages, a thumb drive with the ring footage, the discharge papers from the ED. She labeled everything, dated it, made copies. This was her evidence bag, her case file, and it was growing. She thought about work, about the department. She was a patrol sergeant, 23 years of service, 6 months from retirement. She'd never crossed the line, never bent the rules. But this was personal. Her daughter, her family. She needed to disclose it. To internal affairs, before someone else did. She opened her email, started typing. Subject line off-duty incident disclosure. She explained the situation, the assault, the evidence she was gathering, her intention to support her daughter through the legal process. She kept it professional, factual, no emotion. Then she paused. Her finger hovered over the send button. Once she hit it, there was no going back. IA would review it. They might pull her from active duty, put her on desk work, or worse, but she had no choice. This was the right thing to do. She pressed send. The email disappeared from the screen. Liz closed the laptop. She leaned back in the chair. The house was quiet. Sarah was still asleep. The sun was high now, bright. It streamed through the kitchen window. Dust motes floated in the light. Liz looked at the folder on the table. The evidence, the proof. It should have felt like progress, like justice. But it didn't. It felt like the beginning of something much bigger, something she couldn't control. She thought about Rob, his text, his threat. Open your mouth, lose everything. He had money, connections, power. She had a badge and 23 years of experience. But would it be enough? She didn't know, and that scared her more than she wanted to admit. The call came on Tuesday morning. Liz was at the kitchen table, coffee in one hand, case file in the other. She'd been reviewing the evidence, photos, text messages, medical records. Everything was organized, labeled. Ready? Then her phone rang. The number was local, unfamiliar. She answered. Mrs. Herrera, this is the Bernalillo County Recorder's office. Liz sat up straight. Yes, sir. We have a document here, a quitclaim deed, filed last Wednesday. It concerns property at 4782 Edith Boulevard. Are you familiar with this address? Liz's chest tightened. That was Sarah's house. The one her father had left her. The one Sarah and Rob lived in. I know it. The deed transfers ownership to a Denise Salgado. We're calling because the notary flagged it. Something didn't look right. Liz stood. The chair scraped against the floor. What do you mean? You should come in. Bring identification. We need to verify some signatures. Liz hung up. She grabbed her keys. Sarah was still asleep upstairs. She didn't wake her. Not yet. Not until she knew what this was. The county recorder's office was downtown. A squat building with tinted windows. Liz parked in the visitor lot. She walked through the front doors. The air inside was cool. Recycled. It smelled like old paper and toner ink. A clerk sat behind a glass partition. Liz showed her badge. The woman nodded. She buzzed her through. Clerk Romero met her in the back office. He was in his 50s, gray at the temples, reading glasses on a chain around his neck. He gestured to a chair. Liz sat. He placed a folder on the desk between them. Then he opened it. This is the quitclaim deed, he said, filed on the 18th. It transfers sole ownership of 4782 Edith Boulevard from Sarah Mendez to Denise Salgado. Liz pulled the document closer. Her eyes scanned the page. The property address, the names, the notary seal. Then she saw the signature, Sarah's name, in Sarah's handwriting, or something close to it. This looks like her signature, Liz said slowly. Romero put on his glasses. He leaned forward. It does, but look at the pressure, the slant, the way the loops connect. These signatures are yours, but they aren't your hands. Liz stared at the paper. She'd seen forgeries before. Plenty of them. Check fraud, identity theft. But this was different. This was her daughter's name, her father's property, the house he'd worked his whole life to buy, and someone had stolen it with a pen. Who's Denise Salgado? Liz asked. Romero shrugged. No idea. The address listed for her is a P. O. Box. Could be a shell. Could be a real person. Hard to say. Liz's mind raced. She thought about Rob, the texts, the threats, the violence, and now this. He was desperate. That much was clear. But why? What did he need the house for? Can you pull the chain of title? Liz asked. Romero nodded. He typed into his computer. The screen flickered. Lines of text appeared. Property records, sales history, tax assessments. He scrolled down. Then he stopped. He pointed. Here, Sarah inherited the property 3 years ago. Her father, Martin Herrera, died in 2022, left it to her outright. No mortgage, free and clear. Liz remembered. Her father, the house. He'd bought it in 1987, paid it off slowly. 30 years of work. Construction. Roofing. Hard labor. He'd left it to Sarah because she was his only grandchild. Because he wanted her to have something. Something stable. Something no one could take away. Except someone had. What about the notary log? Liz asked. Romero clicked another tab. Notary is listed as Maria Delgado. License number checks out. But the log entry is minimal. Just a date and signature. No ID verification noted. Liz made a mental note. Maria Delgado. She'd find her, interview her, get her side of the story. But first she needed to understand the motive. Why Rob needed this house. Why now? She drove to the pawn shop. Rob's business. He'd opened it 5 years ago. Gold and jewelry. Guns. Tools. It was on Central Avenue. A small storefront with barred windows. The neon sign read Mendez Pawn and Loan. Liz parked across the street. She didn't go inside. She just watched. A few customers came and went. Then a man in a suit. He carried a briefcase. He went in through the back door. 10 minutes later, he came out. He looked angry. He got in a black sedan and drove away. Liz pulled out her phone. She searched for Mendez Pawn and Loan. Found the business filings, public records, financial disclosures. Then she saw it. A commercial loan. Taken out 2 years ago, $600,000. Balloon payment due next month. Secured by business assets. There it was. The motive. Rob was drowning. The pawn shop wasn't making enough. He needed cash. Fast. And the house, Sarah's house, was worth $300,000. Free and clear. Enough equity to refinance. Or sell. Or use as collateral. Liz felt the rage rise. Hot. Sharp. She gripped the steering wheel. Her knuckles turned white. He'd beaten Sarah. Threatened her. And now he was stealing her inheritance. The house her grandfather had built. The only thing she had left of him. Liz drove home. Her jaw was set. Her mind was clear. She walked into the house. Sarah was awake now. She sat on the couch. Ice pack on her face. The swelling had gone down a little. But the bruises were still dark. Still visible. Liz sat beside her. She didn't wait. She couldn't. Rob filed a quitclaim deed. He transferred the house to someone named Denise Salgado. Sarah's good eye went wide. What? He forged your signature. Last week. The county called me this morning. Sarah's hand went to her mouth. Her breath caught. Grandpa's land, he stole it? Liz took her hand. He forged it. Sarah started crying. Quiet tears. They ran down her bruised cheek. She shook her head. How could he? That was my dad's house. My grandpa's. It's all I have left. Liz pulled her close. She felt the trembling, the grief, the disbelief. But beneath it, Liz felt something else. Purpose, clarity. The rage was still there, but it wasn't wild anymore. It was focused, sharp, a tool she could use. We're going to fix this, Liz said. Her voice was steady, firm. We're going to get it back. By afternoon, Liz had contacted a lawyer, James Ellison, real estate and family law. She'd worked with him before, a few cases over the years, divorce disputes, property fraud. He was good, very thorough, and he didn't back down. They met at his office. A small suite above a coffee shop. The walls were lined with law books, case files stacked on the desk. James was in his 40s, balding, wire-rimmed glasses. He listened as Liz explained everything. The assault, the threats, the quit-claim deed, the forgery. When she finished, he leaned back in his chair. He tapped a pen against his desk. DV plus deed fraud plus threats. That's leverage. What do we do? Liz asked. James pulled out a notepad. First, we file a motion to void the deed. Fraud invalidates the transfer. We'll need the notary log, camera footage from the recorder's office, handwriting analysis if necessary. I can get those, Liz said. Good. Second, we file for a restraining order. The assault, the text, that's grounds. Third, we press criminal charges. Forgery, theft by deception, maybe coercion. Liz nodded. What about Sarah? She's scared. She doesn't want this to blow up. James looked at her. His expression was serious. It's already blown up. The question is whether you fight back or let him take everything. Liz knew he was right. She stood. We fight back. That evening, Liz turned on the radio. She needed noise, distraction, something to fill the silence. She flipped through stations. News, music, sports. Then she heard her name. It was a talk show. Local. Popular. The host was mid-rant. His voice was sharp. Accusatory. Sergeant Elizabeth Herrera. 23 years on the force. And now she's using her badge to harass her son-in-law. That's right. Harass. Sources tell me she's filed false reports. Coerced witnesses. All because her daughter's marriage fell apart. Liz's hand froze on the dial. She listened. Her chest felt tight. This is what's wrong with law enforcement, the host continued. Abuse of power. No accountability. And the taxpayers foot the bill. Someone needs to investigate this woman before she ruins an innocent man's life. Liz turned off the radio. The room went quiet. She sat in the dark. Her hands shook. Not from fear. From anger. Someone had fed the host that story. Someone with connections. Money. Lawyers. Rupp Enarm. Or someone working for him. She called James. He answered on the second ring. Did you hear the radio? She asked. I heard, he said. Don't respond. Not yet. They're smearing me. Let them. We focus on the court. The evidence. Once we have the judge's ruling, the court of opinion won't matter. Liz exhaled. She wanted to fight back, to defend herself, to call the station and set the record straight. But James was right. The court came first. The law. The evidence. Let the evidence do the talking, she said quietly. Exactly, James replied. Liz hung up. She sat alone in the living room. The house was quiet. Sarah was upstairs, asleep, exhausted. The case file sat on the table. Photos, records, proof. It was all there. Everything they needed. But it didn't feel like enough. Not yet. She thought about Rob, his pawn shop, his debts, his desperation. He was backed into a corner, and cornered animals were dangerous. They lashed out. They attacked. They destroyed everything around them to survive. But Liz had been a cop for 23 years. She'd dealt with dangerous people before. She knew how to stay calm, how to follow procedure, how to build a case brick by brick until there was no way out. She opened her laptop. She started a new document. Case notes. Timeline. Evidence inventory. She typed slowly, methodically. Each entry was precise, factual, no emotion, just the truth. By midnight, she had a strategy. Court filings first. Restraining order. Motion to void the deed. Criminal complaint. Then the investigation. Handwriting analysis. Notary interview. Camera footage. She'd follow every lead. Document every step. And she'd do it by the book. No shortcuts. No mistakes. Because this wasn't just about Sarah anymore. It wasn't just about the house. It was about justice. About standing up to someone who thought he could use violence and fraud to get what he wanted. Someone who thought he was above the law. Liz closed the laptop. She looked at the case file, then at the dark window. The street outside was empty, silent. Somewhere out there, Rob was planning his next move, and Liz was planning hers. She stood. She walked to the window. She looked out at the night. City lights flickered in the distance. The mountains were black against the sky. She felt the weight of it all. The responsibility, the risk, but she also felt something else. Resolve. She wasn't backing down. Not now. Not ever. The motel was off Route 66, old stucco walls, cracked asphalt. A neon cactus flickered above the office. The sign read Desert Rose Inn. Liz sat in her car across the street. Engine off. Windows cracked. The night air was cool. Dry. It smelled like creosote and exhaust. Rob's silver F-150 was parked in front of room 12. She'd followed him from the pawn shop. Kept 3 cars back. No headlights when she turned into the lot. Now she waited. Her camera sat in her lap. Digital SLR. Telephoto lens. She'd used it for surveillance before. Traffic stops. Drug busts. Now it was pointed at her son-in-law. The door to room 12 opened. Rob stepped out. He wore jeans and a black t-shirt. Then a woman appeared behind him. Red dress. Tight. Short. Dark hair down to her shoulders. She laughed at something he said. Her hand touched his chest. He pulled her close. Kissed her. Long. Public. No shame. Liz raised the camera. She focused. Clicked. The shutter was quiet. Almost silent. She got the faces. Both of them. Clear. Then she panned to the motel sign. The neon cactus. The clock below it. 7:43 p.m. Then the license plate on the F-150, New Mexico tags. She shot it twice, just to be sure. The woman was Denise Salgado. Liz was certain now. The name on the quitclaim deed. The ghost owner. Except she wasn't a ghost. She was real. Standing there in a red dress, wrapped around Rob. The man who'd beaten his wife. Forged her signature. Stolen her house. Liz lowered the camera. Her jaw tightened. She felt the anger rise. Hot. Sharp. But she pushed it down. She had what she needed. Photos. Evidence. A clear chain. She started the engine. She pulled out slowly. No rush. No attention. As she turned onto the main road, headlights appeared behind her. Close. Too close. A black SUV. Tinted windows. It stayed on her tail. Through 2 lights. 3. She changed lanes. It followed. She sped up. It matched her speed. Liz's hand went to her hip. The badge was clipped there. She reached for it. Then she glanced in the rearview mirror. 2 men in the front seat. Large. Thick necks. The kind who got paid to intimidate. She knew the type. She'd arrested dozens of them. She pulled into a gas station. Bright lights. Cameras. People. The SUV followed. It parked 2 spaces over. The engine stayed running. Liz got out. She walked to the driver's side window. It rolled down. The man inside was in his 30s. Shaved head. Tattoo on his neck. He stared at her. Silent. Liz held up her badge. You've been following me. The man didn't blink. No law against driving. There is against stalking. He smiled. No warmth. Just teeth. We're just making sure you don't do anything stupid. Liz leaned in. Her voice was low. Steady. Tell Rob I have photos. All of them. And if you follow me again, I'll add harassment to the charges. The man's smile faded. He rolled up the window. The SUV pulled out. It disappeared down the street. Liz stood there for a moment. Her heart pounded. But her hands were steady. She got back in her car. She drove home. The next morning, Liz tracked down Denise Salgado. It wasn't hard. The P.O. box address led to a billing statement. The statement had a phone number. The phone number was tied to an apartment complex on the east side. Liz drove there at noon. She parked in the lot. Waited. At 1:15, Denise came out. Same dark hair. Different dress. Blue this time. She carried a purse and walked to a bus stop. Liz followed on foot. She stayed back. Casual. When Denise got on the bus, Liz got on too. She sat 3 rows behind. The bus rumbled through downtown. Past the courthouse. The library. Then it stopped near a small bar. Denise got off. Liz followed. The bar was dim inside. Wood paneling. Red vinyl booths. It smelled like beer and fried food. A jukebox played low in the corner. Denise sat at a table near the back. She ordered coffee. Liz approached. She didn't ask permission. She just sat down. Denise looked up. Her eyes widened. Who are you? Liz set her badge on the table. Sergeant Herrera. We need to talk. Denise's hand went to her purse. Like she was thinking about running. Liz raised her hand. Calm. Steady. I'm not here to arrest you. I just want the truth. Denise hesitated. Then she sat back. Her fingers drummed on the table. Nervous. Fidgety. What do you want? The house on Edith Boulevard. You signed the deed? But you didn't buy it. Did you? Denise looked away. I don't know what you're talking about. Liz leaned forward. He promised you land he already stole. Denise's jaw tightened. She didn't answer. But her eyes told the story. The shame. The fear. The regret. Liz pulled out a folder. She opened it. Inside were papers. Payday loan statements. 3 of them. All in Denise's name. Total balance $18,000. APR 347%. The numbers were brutal, crushing, designed to trap people who had no other options. I know about the loans, Liz said quietly. I know he told you the house would solve everything. That you could sell it, pay off the debt, start over. Denise's eyes filled with tears. She wiped them quickly, angry, at herself, at Rob, at the situation. He said it was clean, that his wife didn't want it anymore, that it was just sitting there. It wasn't clean. He forged her signature. She never agreed to any of this. Denise's breath caught. Oh God, you're a victim too, Liz said. He used you, just like he used her. Denise covered her face. Her shoulders shook. When she looked up, her eyes were red. What do I do? Liz met her gaze. Tell the truth. I'll get you safe. Denise stared at her, searching for something. Trust, maybe. Or hope. Then she nodded. Slow. Uncertain. I'll testify. But you have to promise. Don't let him find me. I promise. By evening, Liz had contacted Commander Rosales. He was her shift supervisor, a man she'd worked with for 10 years. He listened as she explained the situation. Denise, the fraud, the threats. When she finished, he didn't hesitate. Bring her to the station. We'll relocate her. Safe house. Until the trial. Liz picked up Denise at her apartment. She brought one bag. Clothes. Toiletries. Nothing else. They drove in silence. The station was downtown. Bright lights. Concrete walls. Security cameras everywhere. Commander Rosales met them at the back entrance. He was in his 50s. Gray hair. Calm demeanor. He shook Denise's hand. Then he led her inside. We have a unit on the northwest side, he said. Quiet street. No connection to your name. You'll be safe there. Denise nodded. She looked at Liz. Thank you. Liz watched her disappear down the hallway. Then she turned to Rosales. Seal the paper trail. No leaks. Already done, he said. Liz left the station. She sat in her car for a moment. The weight of it all pressed down. But there was also something else. Read the relief. Progress. A witness. Proof. The case was building. Piece by piece. That night, Liz reviewed the notary logs. James had sent them over. 3 quitclaim deeds. All filed within 6 months. All notarized by Maria Delgado. Same license number. Same stamp. But the signatures were different. The properties were different. And the buyers were all shell names. Petit. Boxes. No phone numbers. No real people. It was a pattern. A scheme. And Maria Delgado was at the center of it. Liz made notes. She cross-referenced addresses, property values, tax records. Then she wrote an email to James. Subject line, notary fraud pattern. She attached the logs, the analysis, the evidence. She hit send. Then she opened another email. This one to Internal Affairs. She'd promised full disclosure, and she meant it. She explained everything. The investigation, Denise's cooperation, Commander Rosales' involvement. She kept it factual, professional, no emotion, just the truth. She wrote, I am disclosing these actions to protect the integrity of the case. All steps have been taken in accordance with departmental policy and state law. Any questions or concerns can be directed to my supervisor, Commander Rosales. She reread it twice. Then she hit send. The email disappeared from the screen. Liz closed the laptop. She leaned back in her chair. The house was quiet. Sarah was upstairs, asleep. The case file sat on the table, thicker now, fuller. Photos, statements, logs, financial records. It was all there. She thought about Rob, his desperation, his violence, his lies. He'd built a house of cards, and now it was starting to fall, one piece at a time. The mistress, the forgery, the notary, all of it connected, all of it documented. Liz stood. She walked to the window. The street outside was dark, empty. The city lights flickered in the distance. She felt tired, bone tired, but also something else, determination. She'd been a cop for 23 years. She'd seen cases fall apart, witnesses recant, evidence disappear. But not this time. This time she was doing it right. By the book, no shortcuts, no mistakes. She looked at her reflection in the glass. The woman staring back was older, tired, but her eyes were sharp, focused. She'd been knocked down, smeared, threatened, But she was still standing, still fighting, and she wasn't done yet. The courthouse was packed. Bodies filled every bench. The air smelled like wood polish and stale coffee. Sunlight streamed through high windows. Dust floated in the beams. The ceiling was vaulted. Dark wood panels lined the walls. Everything felt heavy, formal, permanent. Liz sat in the front row, Sarah beside her, James at the plaintiff's table, his briefcase open, papers stacked neatly. Across the aisle, Rob sat with his attorney. The lawyer was from Phoenix, dark suit, silver tie. His name was Valdivia. He looked expensive, confident, the kind who charged $500 an hour. Rob wore a crisp gray suit, white shirt, notier. He looked calm, almost bored, like this was just another appointment. But Liz saw the tension in his jaw, the way his fingers drummed on the armrest. He was worried. He should be. The judge entered. Everyone stood. She was in her 60s, gray hair pulled back, black robe, stern face. She sat. The gavel cracked once. Sharp. Final. Everyone sat. James stood. He walked to the projector. The screen lit up. First image Ring doorbell footage. Timestamp visible. 1:02 a.m. Sarah stumbling up the porch steps, her hand on the door. Blood on her face. The courtroom went silent. Then came the ER photos. Split lip, swollen eye, bruises on the neck. Each image held for 5 seconds. Long enough to burn into memory. Murmurs rippled through the benches. Liz heard them. Whispers. Gasps. She didn't look back. She kept her eyes forward. On the screen. On the evidence. Next came the quitclaim deed. Signatures side by side. Sarah's real one from the DMV. The forged one from the deed. James pointed. Notice the pressure. The slant. Different hands. Valdivia stood. Objection. Speculation. We have no handwriting expert testimony. The judge looked at James. Sustained. Move on. James nodded. He clicked to the next slide. Text messages. Rob's threats. Open your mouth, lose everything. Projected 10 feet tall. The courtroom read it. Absorbed it. Liz felt the shift. The tide turning. Valdivia stood again. His voice was loud. Theatrical. This is extortion. Badge abuse. Sergeant Herrera is using her position to destroy my client's reputation. To coerce witnesses. To fabricate evidence. The murmurs grew louder. Some people nodded. Liz felt eyes on her. Judging. Doubting? She sat still. Hands folded. Face neutral. She'd been through worse. The judge raised her hand. Silence fell. Counselor. Save your closing arguments. This is a hearing, not a trial. Valdivia sat. But his words hung in the air. Liz knew they would. That was the point. Plant doubt. Create confusion. Hope something stuck. James called his witness. The court calls Denise Salgado. The side door opened. Denise entered. She wore a simple dress. Navy blue. No makeup. Hair pulled back. She walked to the stand. The bailiff swore her in. She sat. Her hands trembled. She gripped the armrests. James approached. Mendez. Salgado. Do you know the defendant? Yes. How? Denise's voice was quiet. We were involved. And the property at 4782 Edith Boulevard, did you purchase it? No. But your name is on the deed. He put it there. He said it was temporary, that his wife didn't want it, that we'd split the money. James paused. Let the words settle. Did you sign the deed yourself? No. He did. He forged everything. Rob stood. Fast. Violent. His chair scraped the floor. That's a lie. The bailiff moved toward him. Hand on his belt. The judge's gavel cracked. 3 times. Loud. Echoing. Sit down, Mr. Mendez. Or I'll hold you in contempt. Rob sat. But his face was red. Veins bulged in his neck. Liz watched him. This was the real Rob. The one Sarah had seen. The one who hit when he didn't get his way. The judge looked at Denise. Continue. Denise's breath shook. He promised me a share. Said I'd get $50,000. But then the loan started coming due. And he stopped answering my calls. James returned to his table. No further questions. Valdivia stood. He walked to the stand. Slow. Deliberate. Mendez. Salgado. You have significant debt. Correct? Yes. Payday loans. High interest. Desperate situation. Yes. So desperate you'd say anything to get out of it. Denise looked at him. Her jaw set. I'm saying the truth. Valdivia smiled. Cold? Or what you've been coached to say. The judge cut in. Move on, counselor. Valdivia stepped back. He'd made his point. Seeds of doubt. That's all he needed. The hearing lasted another hour. Testimony. Cross-examination. Exhibits. Then it was over. The judge took 20 minutes to review. When she returned, the courtroom was silent. Tenso. Based on the evidence presented, she said, I'm issuing a protective order for Sarah Mendez. The defendant is to maintain a distance of 500 feet. I'm also ordering an asset freeze on all properties in dispute. And I'm voiding the quitclaim deed as fraudulent. The gavel cracked. Final. Binding. Furthermore, I'm referring this matter to the district attorney. Charges of domestic violence, forgery, and witness tampering should be considered. Rob's face went white. Valdivia leaned in, whispered something. But Rob didn't respond. He just stared at the judge. Frozen. Outside, the sun was bright. Harsh. Liz helped Sarah down the courthouse steps. Reporters waited. Cameras. Microphones. They surged forward. Questions flew. Sergeant Herrera, did you abuse your badge? Is this revenge? What do you say to people who think you're lying? Liz stopped. She looked at the cameras. Her voice was calm. Steady. Evidence spoke. We listened. She took Sarah's arm. They walked to the car. Behind them, the whispers shifted. Changed. Maybe she told the truth. Did you see those photos? That text message. In the car, Sarah started crying. Quiet tears. Relief. Exhaustion. Fear. All of it mixed together. Liz reached over. Took her hand. Head up. None of this guilt belongs to you. Sarah nodded. Slow. Uncertain. But she squeezed back. And that was enough. Liz started the engine. She pulled out of the lot. The courthouse grew smaller in the mirror, then disappeared. The road ahead stretched out. Clear. Open. For the first time in weeks, Liz felt it. Hope. Not certainty. Not victory. But hope. And that was a start. The envelope appeared 3 nights after the hearing. Liz found it at dawn. She opened the front door to get the newspaper. It lay on the welcome mat. White. No stamp. No return address. Just her name in block letters. She picked it up. The paper felt thin, cheap. She opened it carefully. Inside was a single sheet. The message was typed. No signature. Shut up or lose your daughter. Liz read it twice. Her jaw tightened. She went back inside. She didn't touch the paper again. She grabbed a plastic evidence bag from her patrol kit. She used tweezers to place the letter inside. Then she sealed it. Labeled it. Time. Date. Location. She photographed it. Front and back. Then she called Commander Rosales. He arrived 30 minutes later. He read the letter through the plastic. His face was calm. Free for turn up professional. But his eyes were hard. This is witness tampering. Maybe worse. I know, Liz said. I'm posting a patrol car. Your street and Ms. Camilla's. 24-hour rotation. He'll see it. Good. Let him see it. Rosales logged the incident. Gave it a case number. Then he made calls. 2 officers arrived by noon. They parked at the end of the block. Visible. Obvious. A message. By evening, word had spread through the neighborhood. The patrol car. The threat. People talked. Some supported Liz. Others didn't. The community was splitting. Line by line. House by house. On Sunday, the church choir met. Liz heard about it from Ms. Camilla. The discussion had been heated. Half the group said Rob deserved forgiveness. That marriage was sacred. That women should submit. The other half said protection came first. That abuse wasn't love. That Sarah needed safety, not sermons. The choir director ended the meeting early. No consensus. No hymn selection for next week. Just tension, anger, and silence. Miss Camilla stood with Liz. So did 3 other neighbors. But 5 families stopped talking to her. One man spat on her driveway. Liz cleaned it up. She didn't respond. She'd learned long ago that some people would never understand. And that was their choice. Meanwhile, rumors about the pawn shop spread. An audit was underway. State regulators. They'd found discrepancies. Stolen goods in the inventory that didn't match the police reports. Interest rates that violated usury laws. Customers who'd been charged twice. 3 times. The numbers didn't add up. And neither did Rob's explanations. The 2 men who'd followed Liz were arrested on Thursday. Intimidation. Harassment. Obstruction. The black SUV was impounded. Security footage from the gas station showed everything. The confrontation, the threats, the license plate. They tried to claim they were just driving, but the evidence said otherwise. Rob hired another lawyer. This one specialized in criminal defense. But the walls were closing in. The DA was building a case. Assault, forgery, fraud, witness tampering. Each charge carried years. And they were stacking. Denise was relocated again. The safe house on the northwest side had been compromised. Someone had left a note on the door. Just an address, no message. But the meaning was clear. They knew where she was. Commander Rosales moved her to a unit in Rio Rancho, 20 miles away. New phone, new name on the lease, no paper trail. On Friday, Liz received a letter from Internal Affairs. Official letterhead. She opened it slowly. Her hands were steady, but her heart pounded. She read the first paragraph, then the second. Then she exhaled. After thorough review, the actions taken by Sergeant Elizabeth Herrera are deemed transparent, necessary, and proportionate. No violations of departmental policy were found. Case closed. Liz set the letter down. She sat for a moment. The weight she'd been carrying lifted. Not completely, but enough. She'd done it right. By the book. And IA agreed. Sarah started therapy the following week. Dr. Chen's office was on the east side. Small, quiet. The walls were painted soft blue. A fountain bubbled in the corner. The sound was calming. Steady. Sarah went twice a week. EMDR sessions. Eye movement desensitization. Processing trauma. Rewriting the fear. She also learned breathing drills. 4 counts in. Hold for 4. 4 counts out. Dr. Chen said it would help with the panic attacks. The flashbacks. The moments when everything felt too heavy. Sarah practiced at home. In the kitchen. At the table. Liz watched her. Proud. Hopeful. One evening, Liz heard humming. She walked into the kitchen. Sarah was at the sink, washing dishes. An oldies station played on the radio. Patsy Cline. Sarah hummed along. Off-key, but smiling. It was a small thing, but it mattered. It meant she was coming back. Slowly. One note at a time. The apology started at the grocery store. Liz was in the cereal aisle, reaching for a box. A woman approached. Gray hair, glasses. Liz recognized her. Church choir. One of the ones who'd sided with Rob. Officer Herrera, the woman said. Her voice was quiet. Ashamed. I was wrong. About you. About Sarah. I'm sorry. Liz nodded. Thank you. The woman hesitated. Then she walked away. Liz stood there for a moment. The apology felt small, inadequate. But it was something. A crack in the wall. A shift in the tide. A week later, Liz was called to a domestic disturbance. Young couple. Early 20s. The woman had a black eye. The man stood in the doorway, arms crossed. Defensive. Liz separated them. She spoke to the woman alone. Took photos. Documented the injuries. Then she sat with her. Quiet. Calm. You don't have to stay, Liz said. The woman shook her head. He'll change. He promised. They always promise. The woman looked away. Tears filled her eyes. I don't know where to go. Liz handed her a card. Shelter information. Legal aid. Counseling services. You have options, but you have to take the first step. The woman stared at the card. Then she looked at Liz. You really think I can leave? I know you can, because silence feeds the monster. The woman tucked the card in her pocket. She didn't leave that night. But 2 days later, Liz got a call. The woman was at the shelter. Safe. Starting over. It wasn't a victory. Not yet. But it was progress. At home, the nights grew quieter. The patrol car was still there. But the tension had eased. The threatening letters stopped. The phone calls stopped. Rob was focused on his legal battles now. He didn't have time for revenge. He was fighting for his freedom. Liz sat on the porch one evening. The sun was setting. Orange and pink streaked the sky. The air was cool. The swamp cooler hummed softly. Sarah came out. She sat beside her mother. They didn't talk. They just watched the sky, the colors fading, the stars appearing. The porch didn't feel like a checkpoint anymore. It felt like home. Safe. Peaceful. For the first time in weeks, Liz let herself breathe. Really breathe. Deep. Full. Without fear. Inside, the case file sat on the table. Thicker now. Complete. Photos. Statements. Evidence. Court orders. It was all there. The truth. Documented. Undeniable. And it was working. Rob's empire was crumbling. The pawn shop. The properties. The lies. All of it falling apart. piece by piece. And Liz had done it by the book. No shortcuts, no revenge, just the law. Applied fairly, consistently, without emotion. She looked at Sarah, her daughter, survivor, healing, growing stronger every day. The bruises were fading. The fear was fading. And in its place, something new. Hope, resilience, strength. Liz reached over, took her hand. Sarah squeezed back, and they sat there, together, watching the night settle over the city. The lights flickering on, the stars growing brighter, the world moving forward. And for the first time, Liz believed it. That justice was possible. That healing was real. That doing things right mattered. Not because it was easy, but because it was right. The final hearing was on a Tuesday morning. The courthouse was less crowded this time. Fewer reporters, fewer spectators. Just the lawyers, the parties, and the judge, the same woman who'd issued the protective order. She sat behind the bench, black robe, stern face, papers stacked in front of her. She read the findings aloud. Clear, deliberate. Each sentence carried weight. Domestic violence, forgery, fraud, witness tampering. The charges were bound over for trial. The restraining order was extended indefinitely. Rob was to stay 500 feet from Sarah, from Liz, from any witness in the case. If he violated it, he'd go to jail. No warning, no second chance. Rob sat at the defense table. His suit was wrinkled now. His face was pale. The confidence was gone, replaced by something else. Fear, desperation. The reality was sinking in. His lawyer whispered to him. Rob nodded, but he didn't speak. The judge continued. A lien was placed on all of Rob's assets. The house on Edith Boulevard, the pawn shop, his truck, his bank accounts. Everything frozen until the criminal case was resolved, and until Sarah's damages were assessed. The numbers would be significant. Medical bills, lost wages, emotional distress, property theft. It would take years to untangle, and Rob would pay. The county recorder announced disciplinary action. Maria Delgado, the notary who'd stamped the fraudulent deeds. Her license was suspended, pending investigation. 3 cases were under review. All involved quitclaim deeds. All involved questionable signatures. All involved properties that changed hands overnight. The pattern was clear, and the state was paying attention. Outside, the air was cool. Clouds covered the sun. It smelled like rain. Liz walked to her car. Sarah beside her. James followed. He carried his briefcase. Inside were the court orders, the judgments, the paperwork that would change everything. It's over, Sarah said quietly. Liz looked at her. Not yet, but soon. James nodded. The trial will take months, maybe a year, but the protective order stands. He can't touch you. Sarah exhaled. Relief washed over her face. She'd been holding her breath for weeks. Now she could finally let go. 2 days later, the pawn shop closed. The windows were dark. The door was locked. A sign hung in the window. For lease. It swayed in the wind. Metal creaked against the glass. The neon sign was off. The inventory was gone. Seized by the state. Evidence. Or liquidated to pay debts. Either way, Rob's business was finished. Liz drove past it on Friday. She didn't stop. She just looked. The building was small, shabby. Bars on the windows. Graffiti on the walls. It looked empty. Forgotten. Like it had never mattered. And maybe it hadn't. Not really. It was just a front. A place to hide money. To exploit people. To build an empire on other people's desperation. The F-150 was towed the same week. Liz saw it on the impound lot. Silver paint. Dented bumper. New Mexico plates. It sat among dozens of other vehicles. Abandoned. Repossessed. Forgotten. She wondered if Rob had watched it go. If he'd felt anything. Loss. Anger. Regret. Probably not. Men like him rarely did. On Saturday, Liz's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Arizona area code. She opened it. Thanks for not letting me drown. It was from Denise. She'd moved to Tucson. Found a job. Retail. Nothing glamorous. But honest. Legal. Safe. She was rebuilding. Slowly. One day at a time. The payday loans were in default. But she was working with a credit counselor. Making a plan. It would take years. But she'd get there. Liz typed a response. You saved yourself. I just held the door open. She hit send. Then she set the phone down. She thought about Denise. The red dress. The motel. The fear in her eyes. She'd been a pawn, just like Sarah, just like everyone Rob touched. But she'd chosen differently. She'd told the truth, and that made all the difference. Sarah started her new job on Monday, downtown, a small accounting firm. She was a bookkeeper, entry level. The pay was modest, but it was steady, reliable, and it was hers. No one could take it away. She came home that first evening with takeout, Chinese food, egg rolls, fried rice. She set it on the table. Then she smiled, a real smile, the first one Liz had seen in months. "How was it?" Liz asked. "Good, really good." They ate together, quiet, comfortable. The TV was off. The house was still, just the sound of forks on plates, the hum of the refrigerator. It felt normal, ordinary, and that was exactly what they needed. Liz requested a transfer the following week. She'd been thinking about it for days. 23 years in patrol, 6 months from retirement. She could coast, finish her time, collect her pension. But that didn't feel right. Not after everything. She wanted to do more, to teach, to pass on what she'd learned. She wrote a memo to Commander Rosales, subject line transfer request. She explained her reasoning, her experience, her expertise in domestic violence cases, evidence collection, victim support. She wanted to train rookies, to show them how to do it right, how to document everything, how to protect victims, how to build cases that held up in court. Rosales approved it the same day. He called her into his office, shook her hand. "We need people like you in training. You've earned this." Liz started the next month. The academy was on the west side. A large campus, classrooms, shooting ranges, obstacle courses. She taught twice a week. DV evidence best practices. The room was always full. Young officers, eager, attentive. They took notes, asked questions, listened. One afternoon, a female officer approached her after class. She was in her 20s, blonde hair pulled back, nervous eyes. "Sergeant Herrera, can I ask you something?" "Of course." The officer hesitated. "I had a case last week, domestic. The woman wouldn't press charges. She said she loved him, that he'd change. I didn't know what to say." Liz nodded. She'd heard this story 100 times. "What did you do?" "I gave her a card, shelter info, legal aid." But she threw it away, said she didn't need it. And 2 days later, she called. "She's at the shelter now." But I keep thinking, what if she hadn't called? What if I'd done more? Liz looked at her. "You did what you could. You gave her options. The rest was up to her." The officer nodded, but doubt lingered in her eyes. Liz understood. She'd felt it too. The weight of it, the responsibility, the fear that you didn't do enough. "I stayed once," Liz said quietly. The words came out before she could stop them. The officer looked up, surprised. Liz continued, "A long time ago, before I was a cop, he hit me. I stayed because I thought I could fix it, because I thought it was my fault." The officer's eyes widened. "What happened?" "I left, eventually, but it took time and courage. Your victim has that courage. She called. She left. That's more than most people do." The officer smiled, small, grateful. "Thank you." Liz watched her leave. Then she returned to her classroom. She organized her notes, straightened the desks, prepared for the next session. This was her work now, not arresting people, not chasing criminals, but teaching, guiding, helping others learn from her mistakes, from her victories. It felt right, purposeful, like everything had led to this. The neighborhood changed too, slowly. The patrol car was removed after 2 weeks. The threats had stopped. The tension eased. People started waving again, smiling. Mrs. Camilla brought over tamales. Another neighbor dropped off flowers. No, what can I timber? Just flowers. A gesture. An apology without words. The man who'd spat on the driveway didn't apologize, but he stopped glaring. Started nodding. Small acknowledgments. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was something. A truce. An acceptance that maybe he'd been wrong. The rumor mill ran out of gas. There were no more stories. No more accusations. No more whispers. Rob was old news. His empire had crumbled. His reputation was destroyed. And people moved on, because that's what people do. They find new drama, new gossip, new targets. One evening, Liz sat at the kitchen table. The case file was in front of her. She'd kept it organized, updated, complete. Now it was time to close it. She pulled out the evidence bags, the photos, The medical records, the text messages, the ring footage, the threat letters, everything that had built the case, everything that had protected Sarah, everything that had brought justice. She placed them in a large evidence box, labeled, dated, sealed. Then she wrote the case number on the lid. She carried it to the garage, set it on a shelf, high, out of sight, but not forgotten. The chain of evidence was complete, from beginning to end, every step documented, every detail preserved. If the trial ever happened, it was ready. If Rob appealed, it was ready. If anyone questioned it, it was ready. She stood there for a moment, looking at the box, thinking about everything it represented. The violence, the fraud, the threats, but also the courage, the resilience, the healing. It was all there. Contained. Finished. She walked back into the house. Sarah was in the living room, reading a book. She looked up, smiled. "Everything okay?" "Yeah," Liz said. "Everything's okay." That night, Liz sat on the porch. The stars were bright. The air was cool. The neighborhood was quiet. No pit bulls barking. No dirt bikes roaring. Just crickets. And the occasional car passing by. She thought about the past months. The fear. The anger. The exhaustion. And the victories. Small. Hard won. But real. Justice wasn't fast. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't like the movies. It was slow. Methodical. Built on paperwork and procedure. On evidence and testimony. On patience and persistence. But it worked. Not perfectly. Not always. But enough. Enough to matter. Enough to protect people. Enough to hold the guilty accountable. She thought about Sarah. Healing. Working. Smiling. She thought about Denise. Rebuilding. Starting over. She thought about the young officer. Learning. Growing. Asking questions. And she thought about herself. Still here. Still fighting. Still believing that the work mattered. The porch light flickered. Then steadied. Liz closed her eyes. She breathed in the cool air. Let it fill her lungs. Then she exhaled. Soleil. Complete. For the first time in months, she felt it. Peace. Not happiness. Not triumph. Just peace. The quiet that comes after the storm. When the damage is assessed. When the repairs begin. When life moves forward. One step at a time. She opened her eyes. The stars were still there. The night was still quiet. And tomorrow would come. With new challenges. New cases. New people who needed help. But tonight she rested. Because justice wasn't fast, but it was steady. And that was enough. The sunrise came slowly. Orange light crept across the stucco walls. It painted the porch, the street, the mountains in the distance. Liz sat in the old chair, the one with the faded cushion. She held a mug of coffee. It had gone cold. She didn't mind. The warmth wasn't in the cup. It was in the quiet, in the stillness, in the peace that had settled over the house like a blanket. She'd been up since 5. Old habit. 23 years of early shifts. But this morning was different. No rush. No urgency. Just the slow arrival of daylight. The sound of birds. The cool desert air. She breathed it in. Deep. Full. It smelled like creosote and dust. Like home. Inside she heard movement. Sarah was up. The floorboards creaked. Water ran in the kitchen sink. Then came the sound of a pot on the stove. Metal on metal. The click of the burner. The hiss of gas igniting. Liz smiled. Sarah was cooking. That was new. Or rather, it was old. From before. Before Rob. Before the fear. Before everything broke. Liz stood. She stretched. Her knees popped. She walked inside. The kitchen smelled like green chili. Roasted. Smoky. Rich. Sarah stood at the stove. She stirred a pot. Steam rose. She wore an old t-shirt and jeans. Her hair was pulled back. The bruises were gone now. Completely healed. Only the memory remained. Smells good, Liz said. Sarah looked up. She smiled. Green chili stew. Like Grandpa used to make. Liz's chest tightened. Her father, Martin, he'd taught Sarah that recipe. Years ago. Before he died. Before the house became a battleground. Now it was hers again. Free and clear. The deed was corrected. Sarah's name. Sole owner. No lines. No fraud. Just the house her grandfather built. And the legacy he left behind. He'd be proud, Liz said quietly. Sarah nodded. She stirred the pot. Silent. Thoughtful. Then she turned the heat down. It needs to simmer. 30 minutes. Liz poured fresh coffee. She added cream. stirred. The spoon clinked against the ceramic. A small sound. Ordinary, but comforting. She sat at the table. Sarah joined her. They didn't talk. They just sat. The radio played in the background. Oldie station. A woman crooned about love and loss. The melody was soft. Soleil. It filled the spaces between them. After a while, Sarah spoke. I start therapy again next week. Doctor, Chen thinks I'm ready for group sessions. That's good. I'm nervous. Liz reached across the table. She took Sarah's hand. You've already done the hard part. You left. You testified. You rebuilt. The rest is just showing up. Sarah squeezed her hand. Thanks, Mom. They sat like that for a moment. Connected. Quiet. Then Sarah stood. She went back to the stove. She tasted the stew. Added salt. Stirred again. Liz watched her. Proud. Relieved. Grateful. Later that morning, Liz drove to the station. She had a meeting with Commander Rosales. Her last project before retirement. A citywide DV kit. A standardized evidence collection system. Photos. Ring doorbell footage. Body cam policies. Medical documentation. Threat assessment forms. Everything an officer needed to build a strong case. From the first knock on the door to the courtroom. She'd been working on it for months. Consulting with prosecutors. Victim advocates. Medical professionals. The kit was almost finished. Just a few final details. Then it would be rolled out. Department-wide. Every patrol car. Every rookie. Every veteran. A tool to protect victims. To hold abusers accountable. To do the work right. Rosales met her in his office. He reviewed the draft. Nodded. Made notes. This is excellent work, Liz. This'll save lives. That's the idea. When do you retire? 3 months. Maybe 4. We'll miss you, Liz smiled. You'll be fine. You've got good people. Rosales stood. He shook her hand. You're one of them. On the drive home, Liz thought about the past months. The violence. The fear. The threats. But also the victories. Sarah's healing. Denise's testimony. The judge's ruling. Rob's downfall. It had been slow. Painful. Exhausting. But it worked. Justice wasn't fast. But it was steady. She thought about Rob. His motive. It wasn't passion. It wasn't love. It was debt. And pride. He'd built a small empire. The pawn shop. The properties. The image of success. But it was fragile. Built on loans. On fraud. On other people's desperation. When it started to crumble, he lashed out. He used violence. Lies. Manipulation. Because that's what small men do when they lose control. They destroy everything around them. But he didn't win. Because Liz didn't use the gun. She used the law. She documented. She testified. She built a case, brick by brick, until there was no way out. And that was the difference. Between revenge and justice. Between rage and resolve. Between destruction and repair. That evening, Liz and Sarah sat on the porch. The sun was setting. Pink and orange streaked the sky. The air was cooling. The swamp cooler hummed softly. They ate the green chili stew. Warm. Spicy. Perfect. It tasted like memory. Like family. Like home. After they finished, Sarah looked at her mother. Can I ask you something? Always. If it were you, back then, would you stay quiet or stand up? Liz didn't answer right away. She thought about the question. About her own past. The boyfriend who hit her. The shame she carried. The years it took to leave. She'd never told Sarah that story. Not the whole thing. But maybe it was time. I stayed quiet once, Liz said. Her voice was steady. Calm. A long time ago. Before you were born. I thought I could fix it. That if I just loved him enough, he'd change. But he didn't. And staying quiet almost killed me. Sarah's eyes widened. What happened? I left. Eventually, but it took too long. And when I did, I made myself a promise. That I'd never let fear stop me again. That I'd stand up. No matter what. Sarah nodded. Slow. Understanding. That's what you taught me. Liz reached over. She took her daughter's hand. And that's what you did. You stood up. You left. You testified. You chose yourself. That takes courage. They sat in silence. The sky darkened. Stars appeared. Bright. Clear. The city lights flickered in the distance. Somewhere out there, other people were facing the same choice. Stay or leave. Silence or truth. Fear or courage. Liz hoped they'd choose courage. Because staying quiet never solved anything. It just gave the monster more time to grow. She thought about the people who'd been part of this story. Miss Camila, Commander Rosales, Dr. Ikeroa, James Ellison, Denise, the young officer at the academy. Each one had made a choice to help, to testify, to stand up, and together they'd built something stronger than any single person could. A network, a support system, a community that said no to violence, no to fraud, no to silence. Liz looked at Sarah, her daughter, her survivor. If you're listening to this, wherever you are, ask yourself, if it were you, would you stay quiet or would you stand up? Sarah smiled, small, knowing, I know my answer now. Good, because the truth is powerful, but only if you speak it. They stayed on the porch until the stars filled the sky, until the night was complete. Then they went inside. Liz locked the door, not out of fear, but out of habit. The house was safe now. The neighborhood was quiet. The threats had ended. Life had moved on. In the kitchen, Sarah washed the dishes. Liz dried them. They worked in rhythm. Comfortable. Easy. The radio still played. A new song. Something about hope. About second chances. About starting over. It felt fitting. When they finished, Sarah hugged her mother. Long. Tight. Thank you for not giving up on me. Liz held her. Never. Not once. They said goodnight. Sarah went upstairs. Liz stayed in the kitchen. She looked at the stove. The pot. The recipe her father had passed down. The tradition that survived. The love that endured. She thought about legacy, about what we leave behind. Her father left the house. She would leave something different. A system. A protocol. A way to help others. To protect victims. To build cases. To seek justice. Not with a gun, but with the truth. She walked to the window, looked out at the street. The porch light glowed. Warm. Steady. Inviting. It no longer felt like a checkpoint. It felt like home. A place where people could be safe. Where truth could be spoken. Where healing could begin. She turned off the kitchen light. The house settled into darkness. Quiet. Peaceful. Tomorrow would come with new challenges. New cases. New people who needed help. But tonight there was rest. There was peace. There was the knowledge that she'd done it right. That she'd chosen the law over the gun. That she'd turned rage into resolve. And resolve into repair. And that